the tank blitzers and hopefully a few future mom reds. I'm Littlefinger. Today doing a review of the tier 7 heavy tank called Lupus. Currently for sale in Blitz store under bundles. You can see it here. You can either pick it up as part of a bundle with the Edelweiss and Nameless for $65, or you can buy it by itself for $25. So I treated myself this week and bought all 3 tanks, and I'm enjoying all 3. I will say this tank took a little bit of time getting used to and learning how to drive, but as you can see, this thing just looks troll and its armor is troll. I call it my bouncy machine. Let's take a look at why. You can see here 1,300 hit points. Hull armor on the front is 100 millimeters, and your turret is 130 millimeters from the front. Obviously, you're going to lose some on the sides there for 80 for the hull and 45 for the turret. It does have a very nice gun, but only has a 4.5 rounds per minute. But you can see here, average penetration 175 for AP, 217 for APCR, and a very good 64 for HE. And that's one of the things I'm working on, trying to use HE more, especially against some of those light tier 6 tanks. Because you can see here, as far as the damage goes, you get 400 for an AP. It drops down with your APCR to 340, but your HE average roll is going to be 515. You can do some serious damage. Problem with the gun though, 0.413 dispersion and an aim time of 5.5 seconds. You really have to just basically learn how to use this gun and try not to get too frustrated when you chunk a few shots in a game. So anyway, let's compare this to some of the other tier 7 tanks. Alright, so here's a screenshot from blitzstars.com using their tank comparer. And I have pulled up the tier 7 heavy tanks, and we can take a look at how the Lupus compares to some of these other heavies. So damage per minute, and this is without any equipment installed and just regular AP, is 1710, which is going to be slightly on the low end for these heavy tanks. You can see there Tiger comes in highest at 2082, and the lowest there is the Tankenstein at 1670. So we're just a little bit above that. Penetration numbers 175 on your AP, and I believe it was 217 on your APCR and 60 on your HE. But you can see a lot of those heavies there typically run close to 200. So you're giving up a little bit on your damage with this gun, but you're gaining quite an extra amount of damage. So you see some of those, the Tiger VK at 220, average damage per shot. We're coming in at 400. And of course, because our DPM is low and our alpha is high, we've got a very slow rate of fire there at 427. So you can see some of those other tanks are actually shooting about twice as fast, but doing half the damage. It's a 120 millimeter gun, and you can see that's best in class. And one of the things I do want to note is shell velocity here of 800. And I noticed this a few times from distance. It makes it a little bit more difficult to hit moving targets at a distance with a slower shell velocity. So just keep that in mind. Aim time of 2.45 is what BlitzStars is showing us. And that is right in line with the rest of the heavies at this tier. Dispersion of 0.408 is the worst in class, and you will notice this on the battlefield for sure. Depression, 12 degrees of negative gun depression is really good for a tank like this. The turret is mounted in the back. It's great for side scraping. And I'll give you an example in one of the games here of how that 5% is positive gun depression really is a detriment to the tank, in my opinion. There's some places like on mines, or even on some of just the rolling hills where you just can't get your gun up far enough to get a shot off. So keep that in mind also. I think that's one of the negatives of this tank. Moving on to movement and mobility, you can see here at 36 kilometers per hour, we are just about best in class. Only the Tiger and VK are faster. Engine horsepower at 792 is pretty good, and it gives us a power to weight ratio of 15.2. But when we factor in terrain resistance of 1.1, we get an effective horsepower to ton ratio of 13.8, which you can see is much better than all of these other heavies. So you're going to get around a little bit easier in this tank. So movement is one of the stronger suits of the Lupus, in my opinion. Fuel range is about the same, all of these tanks, and the downside, I think, is you've got 1,300 hit points, which is a little bit lower than most of the others. But that's obviously made up for the fact that your hull armor is 100 millimeters. You can see that's just about best in class outside of Tankenstein and Nameless. But your turret armor is best in class at 130 millimeters. So use those hills, use that gun depression, and wiggle the turret, and you're going to bounce a lot of shots in this tank. Now let's pull up Armor Inspector and show what this tank looks like to your enemies. Alright guys, here I've got Armor Inspector pulled up, and as you can see, I've got the shooter set as a Comet, which is obviously a tier 7 medium tank. Here it is with AP, and you can see there is a lot of red, even straight on. So you start getting into the sides are penetrable, definitely the back. And if we if we go to shooter and put in APCR, we'll show you what that looks like as well. From the sides, quite a lot of red. Can penetrate the front, so you want to keep that protected. So quite a good armor profile. So let's switch that over to a heavy tank. Maybe we'll go with the Tiger. Regular AP rounds can get into the front there, but still, if you're sitting sideways, protecting that front lower glacis there, you're looking pretty. And let's even take it up to tier 8. You can see here still quite a bit of red, so it's got a really good armor profile. Alright guys, this is what you've been waiting for, gameplay. Winter Malinovka, top tier. We're headed right, and I'm playing this game first just because I think it's got a lot of good examples of the strength and weaknesses of this tank. So we're pushing up to the windmill here. Got everybody following me. I was gonna try and go all the way around, but then I decided I'd wait down here and see if I couldn't get a shot in, and the AMX pulled up before I was ready, and I had to rush a shot in there, but you see that he bounced that first one. So there's bounce number 1. And now we're gonna keep this angle, and we're gonna back down the hill again until we can just get our shot in. We bounce, and so does he. So we've missed 2 shots basically at this point, but 2 shots have bounced. And so now we're coming up the hill. I want to just go ahead and push around the corner, and I see that this Cromwell's sticking out. Put our aim down there, and you can see how big that circle is. There's no chance. So this is a downside, that aim time. Not sure why this Cromwell is going to push around the corner here. There's 3 tanks over there. He loses over 1,000 damage in one go. Get a shot in onto the T-25, but he gets a shot in on me as well. So we've lost a couple hundred hit points in that exchange. Now I know there's 2 tanks down here and the T-25, but want to go ahead and get my shot in. I take one there and get one in on the AMX. He gets another one into my tracks. You can see I was doing my best there to protect that lower plate. So we'll go ahead and get a shot in on the KV-2, and you see the KV-2 even bounced off of us. So KV-2 is going to be on a long reload, probably a little bit longer than mine. So I wanted to rush in here, but he gets taken out by the teammate. So we know the T-25's over here, so we'll rush up to him. And another bounce, and he's taken out. And so the rest of the team here is flanked onto the other side, so we got to turn around and head back. Got some fast tanks. You see there was someone in the distance that you can't see, and he bounces as well. So now we're even, and we'll go ahead and get that Cromwell out. 2-on-2 left, and that Cromwell there, you see he bounces and he's backed up. So now I'm going to take out this LTTB, finish him off, and we're up 2-on-1. Probably a bad mistake here to go the long way around, even though I'm fairly mobile for a heavy tank. But obviously he can outrun me. And my partner, he's a one-shot, so I probably should have stayed in the middle and tried to protect him. That Comet is almost full health, but as we saw from the armor inspector, he's seeing nothing but red on me. So switch that back over to AP to get it into his side, and we track him. He takes a shot and gets our tracks again. No damage. And the T-25 able to get a shot in, and I'm just waiting for him to either back up or move out of my way. I just want to push forward here. And he gets a shot in on the side there, and we finish him off with an HE round. So you can see we bounce quite a few shots in that game, and that's what you're going to do when you're top tier for sure. 2704 on the damage, 3 kills. And you can see 8 shots bounced, 7 penetrated, but several of those did 0 damage to the tracks. Alright, game 2 here on Black Goldville, and you can see we are bottom tier in this game. And just wanted to bring this one out and show this one more for damage potential on this tank. So we've got, it looked like that IS-6 was headed up the middle. The rest of us are headed off to the right here. We're getting about 28 to 30 kilometers per hour up the hill. And we know we've got a Dracula back there, and so we wait for the 5-second aim time and get a nice shot in on him. And now we're behind this rock waiting on the reload. And get another nice shot as he's turning around. So they are all down in the middle of the map. You can see I've been spotted here. Tried to put one in there. That was a bit of a stretch with this gun dispersion. But we'll continue to push on. Get back into the middle of the action here as they are a little bit below us. Now I'm coming up looking at this T-29, and I know he's got good armor, but after looking at the stats on him, he's got only 100 millimeters, and I didn't know that at the time. on the front there, so I didn't really need to go with the APCR. And keep in mind, when you do go with the APCR, you're losing about 100, about 60 on average damage. So now I'm just waiting on the Wolf Tractor to get out of my way, and you can see here very little armor on the backs and side of the AMX, so I switch over to HE. And again, you can see as he turns 90 degrees to me, even the side, it's almost 500 damage with that shot. So 2 big shots into the AMX, and then the T29 bounces a shot. So switch back over just to make sure this one counts, and get a shot into him. And he's dropping down the hill, and he bounces another one. And so we'll push up on this VK, get a shot. That nice 12 degrees of gun depression allowed us to get that shot in without trouble. And we'll go ahead and finish him off. It was only our only kill of the game, but we did do 3,464 damage. That was good for level 2. I did get a mastery, although the recording stopped on it. It was 4,500 damage. So somewhere between this 34 and 45 is mastery. So all right, top tier on Port Bay. Showing this video basically to illustrate that this gun can be a little bit frustrating, and with its long reload time, it really can have an impact on a game. And I think, like I said, I struggled with this tank at first. My first 10 or 15 games or so, I was down at about 30% win rate with it. But I have learned to play a little bit better in it, and up over 50% now, and the damage is coming up on a regular basis. But anyway, so we've pushed left on this map, and the other team has gone into the port. So I'm kind of just sitting here waiting to see where everyone's going to show up before making a move. Don't see anything, so we're gonna move in on the M4 here, and you can see I rushed that shot, thought he was going to be going behind the building, didn't wait for the aim, and totally missed it. So now we go behind the buildings as we're reloading, and the M4 is going to push out in front of us and back up, and we get the front plate instead of the side plate and bounce that shot. So here we've taken 2 shots, each one at least 15 seconds between them, and missed both. But the nice thing here is you see that IS bounces, and we get a shot into his lower plate. So we're going to push around behind the buildings here and hopefully catch him in the side, which we do. And team kind of all converged on him and took him out quickly. The rest of the guys have gone all the way around. You see we get another bounce there. It damages the gun. I was hoping one of those guys would come around the building, but they don't. And so now the Panther that shot me is up top. We'll fix the gun, and we'll get a nice shot into the side of him. So now we're kind of just hiding behind the building, waiting for the reload. We are down a tank at this point. See that J Panther miss on him. So you can see, I mean, 3 shots that I probably could have made. That would have been 1,200 damage that I missed out on. Luckily our team's fought back here, and we've got it to even. take a shot from the Panther there, but we were on reload, and we'll wait for this aim, get a nice shot in, and back up, just using that tank in front of us. Get a shot from the M10, but we finish him off. On the reload here, I've got plenty of hit points to play with, so I'm not so worried about him, but he's looking the other way. And as we reload, we'll just wait for him to turn and finish him off. So we missed a few shots there, which is going to happen with this gun. With .4 dispersion, there's no way around it. But still managed to do 2,300 damage and 2 kills. Alright, so this game is just a clip from a Black Goldville game as bottom tier, and you can see I've pushed all the way to the left, and this T49 has come in hard at me. Now, this guy packs a wallop with that gun that he's got. Can easily do 600 to 700 damage. So I get a nice shot into his side, and he hits me, I'm sure, with HE, but only does a couple hundred damage. See that he's taking a shot, so I'm trying to rush around, get a shot into him, and then I'm backing up, and I'm going to try to turn, and I don't want to show him my front. His penetration values aren't great, so I wasn't sure what he'd be able to do, but you can see there. Another almost 400 damage with that shot. So what I wanted to point out here is as I climb this hill, that 5 degrees of positive gun depression comes into play, and I totally chunk that into the ground. I was not expecting that at all. So we'll reload, and we'll take out the Lupus and back behind the rocks again. And reload, and I wanted to show this last part of this is hits the back side of this Lupus and bounces. So even on the sides and backs, you're gonna get a few bounces. Alright, so last game I'm gonna show on Vineyard's top tier. A little slow starting here, but we're gonna get off and we're gonna push into the middle. And we're going to wait and be a little patient here and see if anyone spots up. Whole team has crowded here together. T29 is down there. We're going to sit here and we're going to wait and aim and get a nice shot. And just as I back up, the shot goes right across my nose. So, patiently waiting for this long reload. VK comes out, we get a nice shot into him. And our VK-28 is in trouble, so I'm trying to push up, hoping that I can get to him. But he is taken out before I get there. And now you can see I'm having issues with the gun depression. And we only track the SU and we take a shot for our pleasure. Drop adrenaline because this T62's pushing around, and we'll go ahead and finish him off. Now I'm going to try to push forward here, but it's not really a smart move with my gun depression issues. See, I can't get my gun up there, so we got to back up. Then this is where that 5%, it comes in to play more than you would believe. Now you can see the yellow line to the top is the max I could raise the gun to. So I know that SU's in there. He's not spotted. And there's another guy in there. I don't really want to rush in there, but we got to get him spotted. And he's engaging the guy to my left, so I'm going to try to sneak in here and use my gun depression. And unfortunately I aimed right at his gun and didn't do any damage. Take out the SU. Not sure why I got called fake. I don't know what that means. I guess because this is a true cartoon tank. Push around here and get a nice snapshot in. I don't know whose hit he is, but whatever. So now that KV has gone and sat in the base. And we'll get a nice shot into the side and light him up. And just pull back, wait for the reload. And he's going to push forward in front of the rock. And unfortunately we missed that shot. Small target, probably wasn't aimed the best, but dispersion at that distance is going to make it tricky. So now we'll push. We know the T-29 was over here, and the IS shows up. Staying behind this rock here for a little extra protection, even though the T-29 is not looking at me. And we'll go ahead and finish off the IS. Then we'll climb up the hill here. Nice gun depression. Finish off T-29 for kill number 5. So we did 28-38 in damage, 5 kills, good enough for level 2. So my takeaway on this is the gun can be frustrating, but it is fairly accurate, and does some good damage. The positive 5 degrees of gun elevation is a challenge from time to time, but the amount of bounces you get with this tank, I don't know if there's really a tank to compare it to at tier 7. KV4 maybe at tier 8, but apart from that, the tank moves much better than that. So it's one of the fastest moving heavies at tier 7. So I've enjoyed it. I'm going to keep playing it, and I hope you guys picked up something, learned something from this video, and maybe you'll go out and buy it. Anyway, guys, have fun out there. Stay safe. As always, get educated, not fingered. Little finger out.